Everyone thought that the collapse of Chinese real estate developer Evergrande was the biggest financial news of the era, but they didn't expect that a financial giant with assets exceeding Evergrande by 1.14 trillion yuan would eventually go bankrupt. The collapse of Zhongzhi Group is even bigger and more ruthless than Evergrande's, causing 150,000 of China's wealthiest individuals to lose their fortunes overnight. On June 12th, a court in Beijing issued a notice regarding a consumption restriction involving a mere 143,000 yuan. It seemed insignificant at first, but upon closer look, the person involved was Zhou Bin, the legal representative of Hongtian Wealth, a subsidiary of Jinju Group. Zhou Bin, a once famous financial mogul with an annual salary of 95 million yuan, now can't even come up with 143,000 yuan. Behind him stands Zhongzhi Group with its massive 3.6 trillion yuan empire. At its peak, Zhongzhi was the leading private financial giant in China, but its origins trace back to a paper mill. Through capital operations, political business connections, and high-yield wealth management, Zhongzhi expanded from paper into real estate, trusts, securities, insurance, and eventually created its 3.6 trillion yuan financial empire. The fuel for the expansion was the investments of 150,000 wealthy individuals. According to disclosed data, Zhongzhi Group's investment projects attracted many middle-class investors, with over 150,000 people investing more than 3 million yuan each. One family invested 70 million yuan, and one person even put in 5 billion yuan. Some say Zhongzhi is a killer for the rich, as it targeted China's wealthiest middle class and elites, including business tycoons, industry leaders, and celebrities. Zhongzhi wiped out their millions, even billions, of wealth overnight. What attracted such a high-net-worth crowd to Zhongzhi? First, it was the astonishing 8% to 12% return on investment. What investors didn't know was that this didn't include intermediary fees, financial advisor commissions, and product issuance costs. In reality, Zhongzhi's cost of obtaining funds from investors exceeded 15%. What does this mean? Zhongzhi needed to ensure that every investment generated an annual return of over 15% just to break even. Any slight misstep and the entire financial chain would collapse. Remarkably, this high-risk operation was sustained in China's financial market for nearly a decade. This miracle happened thanks to Zhongzhi's deep connections with state-owned enterprises and central government-backed companies, which is also why so many elites fell into the trap. Let's take a look at how Zhongzhi got started. In 2002, its founder, Shi Taos, used his brother Xie Zhichun's position as the president of Everbright Securities to join forces with state-owned enterprises like the Harbin State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission and the Heilongjiang Mudanjiang New Materials Company to establish Zhongrong International Trust Investment Company, Zhongrong Trust. This marked Xie Zhichun's entry into the financial world. After about a decade of development, Zhongrong Trust obtained licenses for various financial sectors, including trusts, insurance, leasing, futures, public offerings, and private equity. It grew into a major force in China's financial sector with assets surpassing 1 trillion yuan. Zhongrong Trust became the foundation for Zhongzhi Group's growth, leading it to expand into other industries such as real estate, education, technology, new energy, and mining, with 37 core companies. After achieving success, Xie Zhichun continued to leverage Zhongzhi's connections with state-owned enterprises to further boost the group. In 2010, he transferred 36% of Zhongrong Trust's equity to the former state-owned Hongtian Group's Jingwei Textile Machinery Company, while ensuring his nephew Liu Yang retained the position of chairman, securing control over Zhongrong Trust. This model was replicated in Zhongzhi's 4 wealth management subsidiaries, Hongtian Wealth, Xinghu Wealth, Datang, and Gaosheng Wealth. They all used state-owned enterprises to back Zhongzhi. Thanks to this support, Zhongzhi gained the trust of many high-end clients.
从8月2日听到中融信托
For the past 12 days, ever since I heard that Zhongrong Trust stopped raising funds and paying out on some products, I've been living through the darkest moments of my life. I poured 12.3 million yuan into Zhongrong Trust products through Datang Wealth, but just 20 days before my investment was due to mature, the company slammed the brakes on fundraising and payouts for some of its products. These last few days have been a nightmare of panic. This money is my family's entire cash flow. If this product collapses and fails to pay out on time, I'm staring at monthly loan defaults in the tens of thousands of yuan. My family's business will grind to a halt, and our lives will be upended. Generations of hard work could be wiped out. Zhongrong Trust, a state-approved financial institution, backed by a major state-owned enterprise like Jingwei Textile Machinery and overseen by national regulators, has stayed silent, offering no official statement on this crisis. This silence has plunged thousands of investors and the entire trust industry into chaos.
The Zhongzhi Group crisis reflects a deep structural flaw: government-business symbiosis, institutional arbitrage, a lack of financial regulation, and a failure of supervision. Zhongzhi's success largely came from its background. It wasn't purely a private company, but a hybrid of institutional resources and capital power. Teams with former officials, ties within the system, financial licenses, and government projects gave investors great confidence in it. But when the anti-corruption and deleveraging waves hit, these once protective factors turned into fatal weaknesses. In fact, the collapse of Zhongzhi wasn't sudden. At the end of 2022, the founder, Xie Zhiqun, unexpectedly passed away. His wife, the famous Chinese singer Mao Ah-min, had the right to inherit 26 billion yuan, but shocked everyone by choosing to give up all of it. She explained that she didn't need the money, but now it seems like a precise prediction of the future risks for the Zhongzhi empire. After Xie Zhiqun's death, top executives gradually left, and signs of a tightening capital chain began to appear. By 2023, Zhongzhi's companies started missing large-scale payouts and finally admitted to being insolvent at the end of the year. Shockingly, when Jinju Group revealed its financial data at the time of the collapse, its total debt exceeded 400 billion yuan, but its liquid assets were only about 1.8 million yuan. That is, the once colossal financial giant with assets of 3.6 trillion yuan now had barely 200,000 yuan in cash on its books. After Zhongzhi Group's collapse, the 150,000 wealthy investors initially hoped for a bankruptcy reorganization, thinking they could recover more of their money. However, in January 2024, a notice from the Beijing court poured cold water on their hopes, stating that it was undergoing bankruptcy liquidation due to its inability to pay off its debts. In August 2024, 49 key executives from Zhongzhi were indicted. By June 5, 2025, the executives of Hengtian Wealth, a subsidiary of Zhongzhi, had already entered the trial process. These 150,000 investors, who were once China's most stable consumer and investment class, now face total losses. What's more terrifying is that these weren't ultra-wealthy individuals who could afford to lose all. They were part of China's most typical middle-class families. From the collapse to bankruptcy, it only took 3 months. These investors might not even get back 20% of their investments. Even though Zhongzhi still holds 200 billion yuan in total assets, most of these are illiquid investments like equities, bonds, and real estate. Many of these assets were valued highly in the past, but now they may be sold at half or even a third of their value, or even go unsold. If sold at half value, 200 billion yuan could return at most 100 billion yuan, which would be used to repay the more than 420 billion yuan owed to creditors. Investors may only recover 20% of their funds, and they would have to wait for several years to see any returns. Some netizens, with a resentment toward the rich waiting from the sidelines, commented, "Well, at least it's the wealthy getting hit." But if they truly understood the role these people play in China's economy, they wouldn't find it funny. These 150,000 individuals are the backbone of China's consumer economy. They are the owners of small businesses, shareholders in medium-sized private companies, and senior white-collar workers with stable incomes. They are the key consumers in high-end restaurants, luxury brands, cars, medical beauty industries, and high-end education. When their funds evaporate overnight, their plans change drastically. Those who were going to buy a new car don't. Those planning to study abroad cancel, and those who are going to renovate their homes scale back. A large portion of consumption stops immediately. This isn't just their personal disaster. It's the beginning of the fracturing of China's middle class. What's even more frightening is that many of these investors are entrepreneurs. When their capital flow stops, it could drag down more businesses and impact even more industries upstream and downstream. For example, an investor running a chain of kindergartens expressed her desperation when trying to seek justice from Hengtian Wealth.
我现在企业现金流出来了，也就是说几百个员工，包括几千个家庭。
I'm now facing a cash flow crisis in my business. Hundreds of employees, including thousands of families' tuition fees, are stuck here. If the teachers' salaries aren't paid, what do I do? If I borrow money, I can survive a month or two, but I need 1 or 2 million every month. If this situation isn't resolved in 6 months, I'll be forced to jump off a building. But even that won't solve the problem. This is the biggest issue I'm facing right now. The cash flow isn't coming back. Investments that were due in June, July, and August aren't returning anything. What do I do? How do I explain this to my employees? I can't even pay basic salaries now. Even if I sell my house, it still won't be enough. Are you asking me to sleep on the street? The bigger issue is that if I can't pay my employees, they'll all resign. Thousands of children won't have anyone to care for them, and tens of thousands of parents will come looking for me. This could cause a huge social problem. How do I explain this to society and all the parents? I run a chain of kindergartens. What am I supposed to do? You're saying I'm facing arrest by the police, but I'm already facing that. However, Hengtian Wealth's employees mentioned the possibility of being arrested by the police, not as an excuse to avoid responsibility. It is reported that the Chaoyang District Police in Beijing, in an effort to recover more funds for investors, issued a notice stating that the executives of Zhongzhi Group's wealth management companies who are suspected of criminal activities have been taken into custody. Surprisingly, the notice also asked other relevant personnel from the involved companies to voluntarily cooperate with the investigation and return illegal earnings. Those who do so will face lighter punishment. This means that law enforcement is now targeting not only the executives, but also ordinary employees. After the notice was issued, employees related to financial products at Zhongzhi's subsidiaries, including former employees and administration staff, received notifications to return illegal earnings. Those who fail to do so will face inevitable legal consequences. The notice sparked anger from Zhongzhi's employees and raised questions from netizens. These companies under Zhongzhi were all legally licensed, yet after they collapsed, they became involved in illegal fundraising. As regular employees, we only knew how to bring in business and deposit money into the company's accounts. We had no idea what the company was doing. How can they push the responsibility onto us? A financial blogger speaking in a video said, "How did I go from simply buying a financial product to becoming a participant in illegal fundraising?"
我好好的买一个理财产品，怎么就变成了非法集资的参与者？
Yesterday, the Chaoyang police in Beijing filed a case against Zhongzhi. The criminal charge is most likely illegal fundraising. Honestly, it's almost impossible for ordinary people to understand and distinguish these legal terms. It's really awkward. How did I go from buying a good financial product to being involved in illegal fundraising? And even having to return compensation or possibly face jail. This is a legal issue that can't be avoided. The laws are clear, but only a very few professionals or even experts can understand them. How can laws I don't understand or didn't know about guide my behavior in daily life and transactions? Some netizens commented that the Chinese authorities once again made the lower class bear the blame, acting as scapegoats, while the big bosses behind Jinju Group who orchestrated this financial scam remain free. Meanwhile, the regulatory bodies, faced with the huge risks concealed within Jinju Group, are either turning a blind eye or are blinded by vested interests. Not only did Zhongzhi's employees face the heavy hand of the police, but even the victimized investors are also being monitored and harassed by them. One man shared his experience.
Last night at 11:30, Beijing police showed up at my door, asking how much I invested in Zhongzhi products and what my losses were. Past midnight, the police from my hometown in Qingdao called with the same questions. Then this morning, Qingdao cops called again to double-check. I guess they've been tracking Zhongzhi investor groups on social media and noticed some activity, and they're getting ahead of it. I told the police over and over, if I lose every last cent, that's on me. I've got to own it and move on, right?
Another man, a Tsinghua University finance master's graduate, warned those who had bought financial products from Zhongzhi, Haiyin, Ding Yifeng, and other collapsed financial institutions. He said these individuals are now on the Chinese government's watch list for constant monitoring.
A couple of days ago, Shanghai police knocked on my door. Why? Years ago, I invested in a private equity product from Hengtian Wealth tied to Zhongzhi. That day, I was in Beijing for a Tsinghua alumni event, set to donate to their new campus. I'm guessing my name popped up in Beijing's big data system, flagging me as a Zhongzhi investor. My phone was off, so the cops couldn't get hold of me and showed up at my house instead. They were jittery, thinking I'd gone to Beijing to demand my money back. My wife tried to explain, but they wouldn't budge, demanded I call Officer Zhang. When I finally reached him, he grilled me. Did you buy Zhongzhi products? You better stick to legal ways to fight for your rights. What's your business in Beijing? I had to explain myself 3 times before he let go and hung up.
A female victim of Zhongzhi's collapse was forcibly intercepted by 4 CCP police while petitioning. She demanded they state their names, show their IDs, and provide a reason for the interception, but all requests were refused. However, rumors circulating on Chinese social media suggest that the founder of Zhongzhi was also a high-level target of the CCP, and that he may have ended his own life. It is said that on December 18, 2021, Xie went into a gym alone, locked the door behind him, and was found with a yoga strap around his neck. Those who knew him believed that he couldn't handle the pressure from both the authorities and the massive debt. Reports have suggested that CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping had been sending signals to crack down on financial tycoons and strictly control capital flight. It was rumored that the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection had interrogated Xi several times before preparing to formally double-regulate him and seize Zhongzhi's assets. It was during this time that Xi reportedly ended his life. The collapse of Zhongzhi Group is just a microcosm of China's larger financial meltdown. Over the past 2 years, similar events involving shadow banks, wealth management companies, and private equity funds have unfolded, such as Qianduan, Ding Yifeng, Huaxin, Anxing, Evergrande Wealth, and Red Collar Venture Capital. The private wealth management and asset management sectors have become China's darkest financial minefields, where million-dollar middle-class investors have suffered catastrophic losses, leading to a full-blown crisis of trust in the financial market. The fall of Zhongzhi not only impoverished China's wealthy, but also stripped the entire society of its basic trust in wealth management, returns, and asset allocation. As a saying on social media goes, the lower class dies from P2P scams, the middle class dies from wealth management, and the wealthy die from trusts. As long as you live in the Chinese Communist state, there's always a sickle ready to harvest you.